Alright, so here's my CB300R. So I just came back from running down Baja and back up. So I'm gonna do basically a long ride with you, and also whatever miles I have on there. So before I actually begin talking about numbers and stuff, I want to point out that I do have the on this bike, I do have the 15 tooth front sprocket. So the factory is 14 tooth, so I put in a 15 tooth up here. So that will throw the numbers off by 7%. So when I give you, when you see the numbers or whatever numbers you see, add 7% to that, or multiply by 7%. So let's say, for example, if I say 100 miles an hour, it should be 7% more. So basically 100, it should be 107. Or if I say 50 miles a gallon, 7% more to that would be, let me see, it would be 53.5 miles per gallon, and so on and so forth, right? So basically, whatever miles you see on there, always add 7%. Okay, so as you can see, the bike is really dirty. It's it's caked in dirt and sand and a little bit of mud. So yeah, so that was basically going down to Mexico. So let's start off with the numbers. So get that out of the way. So I started this trip with this bike at over 600 miles. I put the sprocket in at just before 600 miles. I think around like 590 something or 80 something miles. Then I put the sprocket in and I took it on about approximately a 50-ish mile, maybe just under 50 mile test ride. So I started this road trip with a little bit under 650 miles. Let's look at where we are at right now. Boy, my cover here is scratched up too. Everything's all scratched up and banged up. Should we get to this other side here? Okay, so this is my trip meter A. So trip meter A, I reset this back to 0 every time I got gas. So let's use trip meter B instead. Trip meter B I didn't reset at all. So that way my numbers, you can see what they are. So here's the trip from start to finish, 3,109 miles. So again, add 7% to that. So that would be something like, let me see, 7% to that would be something like 3,300 and, what was it, 3,300 something. So basically, a couple hundred miles more to this. So over 3,300 miles, basically what it is. And that's what the overall gallons I used right here, 5.64 gallons. Well, basically, 5.46. 56.4. 56.4. God, I can't even talk today. It's I'm like so sleep deprived. 56.4 gallons is how much gallons I used. That's my average. What was I say? Average miles per hour, 48 miles per hour average. So overall average mile per hour, I wasn't going very fast, right? Whenever you're in town and such, you have to slow down, right? And while you're sitting idling at the light and stuff, they also count that as well. So that's why it's so low. Let's see, miles per gallon. That's instant mile per gallon, so that you can't read that because it's not moving. This is average miles per gallon, so I'm getting 55.1. Again, add 7% to that. So it should be a little bit more actually. It should be like, let me see, 7% more to that. It's like 58 something. It should be 58 something miles per gallon average. Again, that's back to how many gallons I use. Okay, so that's trip B. And let's look at my odometer. My odometer is 3771. So that's how much miles I have on the bike right now. Okay, so okay, but turn that off. All right, so basically I did 3,300 miles, a little bit over 3,300 miles on this bike in 10 days worth of riding. So I left on Saturday before Christmas, so that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday I got back. So 10 days worth of riding in that time. So that's average That's average about 330 miles a day, I guess. Is that right? Yeah. 10 days, 3,300 miles, so that's 330 miles average every day. Let's see. What else could we look at? We look at the tire wear. My tire wear, it's obviously it's flattened out. As you can see, it's flattened out. It's not really round anymore, right? It's right here. It's flat now, the top. So you can see from this angle too. You can see it's kind of flat. Let's look at the wear indicators. Let's see. Here's some wear indicators right there. So I still have some depth to the. There's one wear indicator and there's another wear indicator right here. So I still have some depth. So I could probably get this thing to at least 4,000 miles, maybe 4,500 miles. I'm thinking maybe 4,500 miles because around at home I mostly ride in the mountains, so I don't get that much wear in the middle. It's more it's more towards the outside here, where it's kind of squared off, so where it's still meaty. So I should get at least 4,500 miles out of this rear tire. Let's look at the front. The front actually still looks pretty good. Still looks pretty new. Here's the wear bar right here, and that's towards the center as well. That still looks pretty good, as far as I could tell. See it different angles, so you guys can see a little better. So typical of motorcycles, the back usually wears out sooner than the front, and it's something like anywhere from two backs to one front, or 1.5 backs to one front. For me, it's from a lot of people. A lot of people usually get 2 backs to one front. For me, I usually get about 1.5, maybe 1.5 back to one front. Sometimes a little bit less than 1.5, like 1.2 or 1.3 backs to one front. But that's for my normal riding. For long distance, it's probably going to be maybe closer to 2 to 1. So the bike's dirty as hell. Let's look at. Let's look at my chain wear. So again, it's not. I didn't take care of the chain as well as I should have. If I was at home, but on a road trip, you can't do as much as you can. Let's see. I don't want to get my fingers all dirty, but let's see if I'm gonna pull this end right here. So you guys can't really see it from this angle because of this little chain ring thing on the bottom right here. Let me go from the other side. Hopefully you guys can see a little better. Let's go to this side. I'm gonna pull on one of the links here, pull it out and see how much it gaps basically. Oh, hardly anything. Oh, it doesn't even move back. Or it doesn't want to move back. So there's no, I can't see any space in there at all at that spot. So that's a good sign. So that means there's like really hardly any chain wear, at least on the chain or the sprocket. My back pads still looks new. Look at my front pad. Put pad from this angle here. Let's see if you guys can see that or not. It's not focusing in that spot. It's focusing on the tire. Actually over here might be a little better. So that still looks pretty new as well, because when you go on a long road trip, you're not braking much. So it's so I don't expect much wear on the brake pads. Oil level, well, my bike's not leveled right now, so I can't really tell if I consumed oil or not. But before I left, I made sure that this fuel bar, this fuel hole here, was when I leveled out the bike, it was completely full. So now let's see. Let me try to balance the bike real fast. It's still in neutral. It's not on. It's not on the gear. Let me put it in gear. Okay, that's in gear. Balance out. Oh shit! Almost dropped the bike there. Let me balance it out so that it's centered or it's upright. Okay, right there it's pretty upright. I could actually see that it's. You guys can't see, but I can see it. There's a tiny little bit of air right above on the top right here, and right now I'm actually on a slight slant too. So that tells me that there was a little bit of oil consumption there, oil loss. Because before, when this thing was completely leveled and totally upright, there was no air. I couldn't see any air space at all up on the top at all. So there's a tiny little bit, not much, but it's obviously still plenty full, more than full, because the low mark is down right here at the bottom. So no big deal. And if this thing was level, this actually the level would actually if the bike was on a level surface, that the amount would actually be slightly lower again, because I'm on a slant, so the oil is just coming back this way. But you get my point. Everything performed really well. Performance-wise, everything performs really well. This bike is not, it's not it really isn't a long distance bike. It's not meant to be. So when I'm out on the freeway, looking at my speed here, and again I have that taller gearing, so the speed, so the RPM is even lower. But when I'm doing like the speed number, mile per number versus the tachometer number, doesn't matter if you change that your gearing or not. These two numbers will always show the same to each other, no matter what gearing you use, because this number down here is not the same. It's off by whatever percentage. In my case, it's 7%. But this number is, it's always gonna stay the same. But at 65, I'm about 7 1/4 RPMs, right? At 70 or so, I'm just about at 8,000 RPMs. So it's revving pretty high, when you're out on the freeway. So it gets horrible gas mileage. I mean, horrible gas mileage at 8,000. Keeping it at 8,000 RPMs. It's horrible gas mileage. 7,000 RPM is a little bit better. And 6,000 RPM is when gas mileage gets better, and at 5 it gets even way better. And it's not a consistent percentage either. Like from 8 to 7, it's the difference between 8 to 7 is not as much. Basically the further lower RPM you are, the bigger the difference. So between the percentage, basically a percentage difference between 7 and 8, that 1,000 RPM right there, it's not that much of a difference compared to say 5 and 6. Between 5 and 6, that percentage change, it's greater. So not a freeway bike at all. And if you want to save gas, keep it at 6, no more than 6. Anything above 6, it doesn't get very good gas mileage. My best miles per gallon I got was on this indicator here. See, that's miles per hour. Let's go to miles per gallon. So the best miles per gallon I got on this thing, the lowest I got was the reading on this was 39 point something. So that's horrible gas mileage. That's how much my XSR got. My XSR 900 got when I was riding fast. When I took it easy on the XSR 900, I got I could actually get over 50 if I took it really, really easy. Average on my XSR, I think I got around 45-ish. If I rode fast, I got under 40. So this thing riding fast, I got under 40. But the surprising thing on the flip side of this is that when I'm on this bike is that when I was going taking it easy, revving lower on the strip, the highest rating I got was 72 point something, 73 almost. So going from 39 miles per gallon to 72 miles per gallon, that's a big jump in miles per gallon, and that bigger change is on the lower end, which is the higher end here. So yeah, so that's a big deal there. So yeah, so that meant for high speeds, lower speeds is good. Basically, if you keep it under 60 miles per hour, it gets pretty decent miles per gallon. But over 60 miles per hour, the gas mileage drops off really fast, especially up at 70 miles per hour. It really drops. Under 50, or excuse me, under 60 is pretty good. 55 is really good, and 50, man, it's like get fantastic mileage at 50 miles per gallon average, or 50 miles per gallon. You get it's gonna be 50 miles per hour. You get excellent miles per gallon average. That's when it goes into the 70s average mile per hour or a mile per gallon. You keep your speed under no more than 50. Let's see. So everything worked out really well. So I did adjust my chain, obviously, when I before the trip. So now the chain actually didn't really stretch much at all. So that's surprising. The chain held up pretty well. The seat, when you first sit on this, it feels like there's hardly any cushion, and you're like, oh, it's not that. It doesn't seem like it's very comfortable. But my ass never really hurt. I was really surprised. Usually on long road trips, when I go on long road trips with other bikes, all other bikes pretty much in the past, usually on the third day, that's when my ass starts to like ache, where I'm like, oh man, I can't stay seated for too long. It just gets aches. It just it becomes kind of, it gets to that point where it's painful. With this seat, it never actually got painful. It got a little bit sore, but it never got painful. I never really ached, and that didn't happen until the 5th day. And the 5th day was actually the worst. After that, the 6th day, it felt like it did on the 4th day, and previous days. So the 5th day was the worst day. But I was actually surprised at how well this seat worked out for me. Very surprised. So when you sit on it, it doesn't feel that comfortable, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable. It's just not that comfortable. But it never really got uncomfortable, and it never really gave any pain. Ergonomic wise, it's stay pretty upright. When I ride, I do have a tendency to hunch, but then I also I naturally kind of have a tendency to hunch. That's that little. A lot of people don't sit upright, and they kind of hunch over a little bit. I think I have that natural tendency as well. Everything performed really well. It does dirt. I did a bunch of dirt roads. That's why it's part of the reason why it's dirty. I did some dirt roads, and I did fine riding those dirt roads. That's going down Baja, especially the Gulf side of Baja. There's more dirt roads there, less paved roads. It's not fully developed on the Gulf side, so it did fine. I mean, you weren't going 50 miles an hour in a dirt road. I was only doing 30 miles an hour, but that's fine. Let's see. I can't think of anything else. It performed really well. I used a Givi ring tank bag, and so I'm using the lower mount right here, so it's more low profile. The other mount I have is a little bit higher, probably about half an inch or so taller, maybe, or almost half an inch taller. So the one that I use right here, the bag did touch the top of the tank, right here. So this rubbing on here, it's not just rubbing, but it's also kind of, you can see that's kind of compressed on the two sides here. It's kind of compressed, and I'm not worried about it. This thing's plastic, so it's no big deal to me. It'll probably mostly wash out. All this marking is probably water stains. All this whiteness right here is water stains, I believe. But whatever contact points, it's no big deal. If you don't want any of the marking, use the taller ring that the thing comes with, the kit comes with. Let's see. Oh, the foot pegs here. Even though this thing is rubber, and I have my CD riding boots, CD brand boots. When this gets wet, man, it is slippery. It's like grease. It's slippery. When it's dry, it's perfectly fine, but when it's wet, it's extra slippery. I was like, wow. I was really surprised. I couldn't keep my feet on here when it was wet. When it's wet, like when it's raining and stuff. Let's say I hit a big pothole, and if my feet's not like centered properly, if I'm kind of like off or whatever, my feet will actually slip off. So I think I'm gonna change this, and I did this with my CB300F as well. I changed this foot peg, and I used a 600RR foot peg, so that way it's it's an all metal foot peg with the little the knurling on the top, so that way that digs into your boots. So I think I'm gonna change those. Those ones, and obviously I have my I have the stock exhaust right here instead of the Aquapovic exhaust, and I put this back in because on the long road trip you don't want any noise. It gets real old real fast. So put the stock exhaust back on so it's nice and quiet. Let's see what else with this thing. I can't think of anything else. It's held up pretty well so far on this trip. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I can't think of nothing else. I gave you the numbers and just like look at how dirty it is and stuff, and everything still looks pretty good. So all I need to do now is I'm gonna wash this thing, and I'm gonna change the oil. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change the oil, and I'm actually gonna collect, as the oil drains, I'm gonna collect the oil at what I think is about half of it drained out. I'm gonna catch it and put it in the little Blackstone Labs. Blackstone Labs, they do oil analysis. So I'm gonna send it in and see what the numbers say. So in here I'm using Rotella T6, right? Rotella T6. But also before the trip, I put in about an ounce, maybe 2 ounces of, I think more like closer to an ounce of God, what's that stuff called? Of Lucas break-in oil. So basically, Lucas break-in oil, what it is it's just an additive package. It's basically it's zinc and phosphorus, right? They call it more specifically they call it ZDDP. So I put about an ounce of that in there. So it's not 2 ounces. I think I put an ounce, maybe even less than an ounce, in here as well. So my reading might be slightly off on the zinc and phosphorus reading, but everything else should be pretty much normal. So I want to see what the viscosity is, because I was revving for like hours on end, right? Revving high hours on end. Every day was like, let's see, I stopped I usually stop after dark. I start the ride around 9 o'clock or so. Start the ride around 9 o'clock, and I don't stop until like. Sometimes there was a couple times I didn't stop until 9 o'clock, but basically I pretty much rode all the way until after sunset most days. There's a few days where I was able to stop before sunset. And in Mexico, people always say don't drive at night, and it's not like all the bandidos come out at night. What it is in Mexico, the road isn't the roads. There's more hazards in the road. For example, in the U.S., the road paint, it's kind of reflective, and all the signs, all the street signs and all that stuff, the stop signs, all those things, they're all reflective. In Mexico, nothing is reflective. I mean, it's just pitch black. There ain't no reflective anything. There's no street lights. There's no reflective little reflective markers on the road itself. In those little dots, they don't have that. So there's nothing there. And the shoulders too on the side of the road. There's no shoulder. You look at your road and the edge of the road. You have a fog line. In the U.S., you have a fog line, and over the fog line, there's usually somewhat of a shoulder. Some places don't have a shoulder, but most of the time they have shoulders. But in Mexico, man, there's no fog line, and there's no shoulder. It's just the road, your lane, and it just drops off. So if you drop off past that, you're gonna crash. If you have a car, your car's tires probably gonna puncture, or get messed up. So basically, it's just that's why it's more dangerous to drive in Mexico at night, because of having more hazards, basically more road hazards. It's harder to see basically, but the speeds are slower there. The speed limit for the most part overall is 80 kilometers per hour, which is about 50 miles an hour. And I was doing 60 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. I try to keep, I would say I was doing about 65 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour most of the time. So I was doing well above this, the speed limit. So that comes out to 110 kilometers an hour, something like that. Yeah. So bike held up well. Okay, so I just yak long enough. All right, thanks for watching.